Hello there, and welcome to IQT's The Quantum Dragon podcast. My name is Brian Siegelwax, and I need a lawyer. Well, not yet, but fortunately, I have one with me today. My guest this episode is Paul Stimers, partner at Holland and Knight. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Brian. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Hype is a thing. For companies doing business with the government, and at the risk of sounding totally naive here, are there any consequences for blatantly misrepresenting the technology to the government for contract or other purposes?
Well, thanks for that. And I'll say certainly if you're involved in a contract with the government or trying to set up a contract with the government, there are definitely consequences for misrepresenting what you're doing. But I think the broader question is an interesting one as well, and that is, what are the consequences for the quantum industry of misrepresenting or maybe overhyping the capabilities of quantum technology now, the timeline for quantum technology to be developed. And in my role as the founder and executive director of the Quantum Industry Coalition, that's something that we've dealt with since the coalition was created in 2017. Because we speak to Congress and to the administration about the current status of quantum information science and technology, as well as where we think it'll go and what we think it will do. And we've found that it's very important over the years to be careful about our claims and our expectations, not to undersell what I believe is the transformational capabilities of quantum, but to be realistic about when it's likely to occur, what it's likely to affect, and really just how little we know about the timeline. I'll add, I think we've been fortunate in that a lot of companies have put out public roadmaps for the development of their technology, and those roadmaps have been, for the most part, being followed over time, and that builds credibility. That enables future claims to be taken more seriously. And that makes my job as an advocate on Capitol Hill and in the administration easier, because I can point to a track record of fulfilled expectations.
How does the government police cheating, such as, for example, companies circumventing export controls and immigration restrictions by incorporating in countries that don't have those restrictions? So some subsidiary somewhere else is the one doing the violating, but it's still the same organization.
I'm pleased to say that I think the members of the Quantum Industry Coalition are taking issues related to quantum security very seriously. Indeed, we just held an event where we had officials from the FBI, NIST, and and CISA, the Counterterrorism and Information Security Agency, speak to a variety of quantum companies about some of the issues related to quantum security and the threats that quantum companies are operating under. So our members, and I can only somewhat speak for them and not beyond that, our members are very cognizant of the requirements, interested in making sure that they are compliant with export controls and so forth. And really, from both from a compliance perspective and from a patriotic perspective, honestly, are interested in making sure that the United States is in the lead on this very important technology. Um, our members recognize that this is a technology that will have potentially profound effects, not just economically, but from a national security perspective. And they want our team to win. And that's that may seem almost trite, but it's true. And so the flip side of that is we need to make sure that United States export controls and related policies are accomplishing the objectives that they have. Um, because gone are the days when if it wasn't invented here in the United States, it just wasn't invented. If those days ever existed, we can't hermetically seal the United States from the rest of the world and not expect to be in some ways left behind. So the trick is how do we create an export control regime? How do we create an information security regime and 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 an immigration policy that all work to enable us to collaborate with friends and allies on the one hand, attract talent from overseas on the other, and at the same time keep out threats like industrial spies or foreign government spies that are trying to get a hold of the technology and bring it back home where it can be used to compete against us.
Speaking of technology, GPS denial and GPS spoofing have consequences. So is there any potential for quantum navigation sensors, which are immune to GPS denial and spoofing, to become mandatory?
So we think that quantum sensing is a critically important capability and one of the nearest term applications. It's already being deployed in a number of respects. Um, from from a national security perspective, we anticipate that in a conflict with a near peer power like China, um, that our GPS capability could very well be knocked out in the very first moments of the conflict. And that would, of course, be a tremendous hindrance to our ability to project power. So the development of robust, resilient positioning, navigation, and timing capability is an urgent priority. And quantum sensors and quantum clocks appear to be among the best options for developing that capability. Because as you say, a quantum sensor based navigation system doesn't rely on outside input. It doesn't rely on a network of satellites, et cetera, to maintain the 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 position in space and time that the platform is on. Um, so the Defense Department, the Department of War's roadmap for quantum technologies has quantum sensing occupying an early and very important place in that roadmap. Technologies like full-scale quantum computing and so forth uh, are placed much further down the roadmap in many cases. Oh, you asked, sorry, you asked if you think it might become mandatory. I think that the main driver is going to be that the Department of War wants to put it in its various platforms, ships, planes, land vehicles, as quickly as possible. I think for general, uh, for general consumer use, it's not going to be made mandatory. I don't think it'll be something that is immediately necessary, but certainly for military use, I would expect to see it as soon as humanly possible.
Okay. It used to matter for government easy for me to say, for government subcontracting, if a company was small, woman-owned, or minority-owned, so some big company gets the contract and a percentage of its subcontractors had to be diversity suppliers. I don't see a strong focus on that in quantum. So does that still matter?
That's an interesting dynamic right now because the Department of War is currently reviewing its policies on that front. There appears to have been what the Department of War is considering a significant amount of gaming of that system, and so the department is looking closely at that and examining opportunities to reform it. I will say on the quantum side, um, that fits more broadly into a couple of different thrusts that certainly the quantum industry coalition has had over the years. One is we believe it's vitally important to expand the pool of quantum talent as quickly as possible. And that involves reaching out to underrepresented communities and uh, doing as much as we can to bring in new talent into quantum. The United States over the last several years has graduated uh, fewer than 50 quantum PhD students from that who are Americans, and there's a tremendous opportunity to expand that. And then the broader quantum supply chain, the quantum ecosystem, is currently extremely delicate, extremely global, and making it more robust and building it up in the United States by any and all means is another priority. Uh, within my coalition, we have a number of small businesses, some very small, who are represented, and they tend to make sure that we're speaking in those terms when we speak as a coalition. But one of the biggest voices on behalf of small business is actually one of the largest members of our coalition, who takes great pains to ensure that advocacy for small business is part of and a core part of our platform.
Uh, Quantum, AI, space, etc. are converging. Is there anything existing or in the works addressing these convergences specifically?
Absolutely. And I think we're seeing, even among my members, we're seeing acquisitions that indicate that quantum AI and space in particular are coming together. Uh, but we're also seeing on the Hill that legislation is addressing this, in particular the National Quantum Initiative Reauthorization Act, most recently introduced by Senators Young and Cantwell with 8 bipartisan co-sponsors earlier this month, has brings in NASA to the National Quantum Initiative, authorizes I think it's $25 million a year for 5 years for NASA quantum R&D activities. And NASA's already been involved in quantum research extensively. They've done the Cold Atom Lab on the International Space Station, among other things. But this sort of formally brings in NASA to the National Quantum Initiative. At the Department of Energy, the recent reorganization there created an office that is focused on both quantum and AI, right in the title of the office. And so I think we're seeing a recognition on the part of the administration that quantum computing, especially combined with high performance computing, which of course is resident in the Department of Energy from a governmental perspective, especially when combined with high performance computing, quantum computing is going to be a real accelerator for AI development. So I think the government has recognized the nexus here. We're also seeing a lot of uh, a lot of big players in space and in data centers talking about putting data centers in space specifically for the use of AI. And I think that quantum technology is going to play a role there, both on the AIs, on the processing side and on the networking side, in terms of creating secure networking links between those data centers and their ground stations.
Makes sense to me. There is an uptick in acquisitions, and that has been expected. I think I've only seen US companies buying non-US companies, not the other way around. And that made me wonder, are there any rules in place forbidding the sale of US quantum companies overseas?
So there are a variety of uh, rules and regulations related to the degree to which foreign companies are allowed to acquire U.S. companies that have um, advanced technology of various kinds. And that's a process that my firm does a tremendous amount of work in. Um, my own focus, of course, is on the policy side of that. And the goal of the Quantum Industry Coalition is to make sure that those acquisitions are tending to go in the in the U.S. company buys foreign company direction and not the other direction. We want to make sure that the United States continues to be uh, the first choice place to incorporate and to develop your quantum business, to make sure that the rules of the road, both at the national level and at the state level, are friendly to the establishment and growth of quantum businesses. And then again, that those businesses are able to bring in high quality talent from around the world, provided that appropriate security precautions are in place.
On that note, I'm all out of questions, so the floor is yours to say anything else you'd like to say.
Well, Brian, I really appreciate your coverage and analysis of the quantum industry. It's a must read, the Quantum Dragon and IQT as well. And I really appreciate everything that you're doing to help us all understand and see around the corners of what's going on. And I will take the opportunity to put in a plug for the Quantum Industry Coalition. Membership is available to companies that are active in quantum technology and committed to U.S. quantum leadership, along with our friends and allies. And we're excited to see progress on the reauthorization of the National Quantum Initiative and other indications that the United States government continues to take quantum technology seriously. So thank you very much for the time today, and always a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you very much for the overly kind words, and thank you again for being my guest on IQT's The Quantum Dragon podcast. And thank you to everyone who's still listening. As always, I invite you to stick around and listen to the outro music. It's called Dungeons and Dragons. Enjoy.